Not gonna lie, if I were you, wouldn't be able to stand.
You bitches ain't bad, you bitches are talkers.
So like the culture that we're in at the moment, everything is very quick paced, everyone wants instant gratification.
It's all on my dime, can't you patting yourself for me? Bro, as you know me.
I came over to the guy.
The girls on my show, not as serious. Why should America have it and not us? We're just boring, tea and crumpets. Why? Like, we're lit too.
Bro, the Americans don't rate us. They don't rate the UK, they laugh at us.
It's the segue for me. It's a segue, but he's speaking facts. Can't lie, Bouncer's speaking facts.
I'm sitting on a bad boy piece of information. Do you understand? A bad boy piece of fucking information.
Okay guys, you can tell from the title, today's episode will be UK Badderz. Is it trash? I said it was trash, but we're gonna go into, is it trash? Are we over-sexualizing and hyper-aggressifying black women by these shows? I don't know if hyper-aggressifying is a word, but I thought I'd stick it in there because it sounded cool. Let's get into it. I thought I'd start with the clip that made this all happen, that kind of made it go viral. It was already quite viral, but I would say in a smaller space. But let's just start with the clip on Sky News that made this go viral.
UK, the correctional retreat, season 1. I didn't want to wait for opportunities to come my way. I think I've got a very, very like amazing personality for TV, but I can't wait for people to put me on I'm a Celeb or put me on something on, you know, like give me an opportunity to showcase my personality. So I thought, I've got a bit of money, I'm gonna do it myself. So it depends how you view it. I feel like the girls on my show believe they are being painted in the best light, because you have to understand, the girls on my show, they want to be bad girls. That's the point of it. They're rebels, so they don't want to be seen as good girls. They don't want to be seen as classy, you know. And there's a lot of people on the internet, especially young people, who like rebellious, controversial characters. So the girls are happy with that. I believe that because I'm not restricted and I've just got a bunch of girls and we're all having fun and we're all trying to go viral and we're all trying to, we're all trying to trend and just make people laugh, and it's not as serious. Why should America have it and not us? We're just boring, tea and crumpets. Why? Like, we're lit too, we're interesting too, but the problem with our country is that I just think that we're boring and uptight, and we all need to loosen our panties and our knickers and sometimes just have a laugh.
I think we're gonna start with the positive. Like Renee said, Lani is actually
In a directive executor.
yes, an executive director, whatever she was trying to say. But that is a big up for Lani, and it is on Sky News. But my problem is the way that interview was conducted. I think Lani highlighted and put it in a place where it was probably at its most negative, focusing on the bad girls trying to go viral, trying to trend. That to a mainstream audience appears kind of cheap, kind of frivolous, and something that can be thrown away and disposed of. I think she should have gone with the rebellious aspect, as she said earlier, and focus on the outcasts, rebels with a bit of attitude, but trying to break free and highlight their personality more. Focusing on the we're bad girls bit, it's going to cheapify what they are trying to do in general, and I don't think it helped the show as much as Lani would have hoped for. And I think this is where a little refinement, a little bit of cutting edge, a little bit of someone who is just focused on the marketing and selling this to the widest audience as possible could have helped Lani. Also, Lani's got to look at this from this standpoint, that you're trying to market this to a bigger audience, a wider audience, and saying things like trying to trend and trying to go viral. A, sounds cheap. A, sounds like something that doesn't have the longevity for a sponsor, for a bigger TV program and syndication. Also talking about and trying to play into the fighting and aggression part of it for a bigger TV show just looks like a problem for Ofgem. And Sky News were playing this off as, is this a potential problem for Ofgem? Obviously it's on Zeus, so it won't have that issue. But you can see that they were trying to mock the show and how it was presented. Lani could have done more to course correct. You're never going to undo how people view it, but she could have done more to course correct the direction in which Sky News was going and what they were doing with the subsequent clip of ZZ Mill's comments, which is where we're going to next focus on, guys.
When I posted originally about, you know, my views on this whole thing, somebody wrote back and was like, well, they're just trying to find opportunities for themselves, and like almost like this was the only way out.
No one's getting a room before me. No one. So when I get big things like Valentina for apartments and leave them stranded. So when you want to talk about eating, and yeah, man, we outside.
I do feel like the culture that we're in at the moment, everything is very quick paced. Everyone wants instant gratification. And being a TikTok star, being a viral star, being any of those things are probably more appealing to young people right now than getting a normal 9 to 5. Being a black woman, you have to think about other things. Unfortunately, it's just the way it goes, you know. So we already have a stereotype of being aggressive, or a chip on our shoulder, or having an attitude, or being, you know, all these negative connotations and stereotypes that they put on us. I feel like shows like this, when fighting and discourse is the main premise of it is never gonna work in our favor or make us look good, and in fact just feeds into the stereotype of what people think of black women.
One thing I say is I disagree with Zizi and what exactly she was saying about, oh, people prefer the influencer trending lifestyle to the 9 to 5. And the reason I disagree with what Zizi is saying there is because she's someone that veered from the 9 to 5 life. And I think the 9 to 5 life itself has many, many problems and has become more and more corporatized, more and more boring, more and more administrative. And that's why people are going to the influencer route and these other, let's say, less stereotypical roles and career paths, because the 9 to 5 in of itself has become more mundane, more boring, less creatively fulfilling, less career fulfilling, and financially less lucrative. But I do agree with her that this is playing into the worst and the most corrosive stereotypes about black women and black people in general. And it can become worrying when you are promoting these things, and when you are kind of highlighting it for its positivity and laughing along with it. It will allow people from the mainstream audience to look and think, hey man, they all seem to like it, they must all be like that. Zizi's point about playing into stereotypes and it doing a disservice to black women, black people in general, and never forget about the man them, is very true. And it brings me to this point. Straight up, we're just pimping ourselves out, and we're not even benefiting from the pimping out in this sense, in terms of we're trying to play into certain stereotypes to get on, like Zizi said. But it's like, really and truly, all we're doing is selling out for a quick buck. And as you can see from that little montage, mostly it's for white corporations, and it typically hinders us the most. I know a lot of people are going to think to themselves and think, oh, but this is not all black people. People are not going to watch this and think all black people are the same. We've moved on from that kind of group thinking, and I will tell you, check this video out.
Understanding a fictive kinship, and how black people in America experience something that white people don't experience, where the accomplishments of a black person become relevant to all black people. So when good things happen, when Barack Obama becomes the United States president, we all kind of feel a kinship, a closeness, an identity shared. Great. When there's a news report being highlighted about a black woman who did something bad to her children, we also all feel the weight of that. When black people are highlighted for heinous crimes, we all feel the collective weight of that. When Timothy McVeigh drives a bomb into the Oklahoma City building, that becomes not a kinship amongst all white men in America, even though the politics that drove him to do that are politics of white malehood.
Like that video say, that fictive kinship, that grouping of us together, that having that group identity, that one black person represents all black people. We've seen it, we've experienced it, we've felt it. Obama wins the presidency, we all feel like we're obligated to comment on it, and there's a sense of inspiration and power for all black people. Someone gets stabbed in Brixton, or there's a fight between a black lady and a Asian shopkeeper, and we all feel obliged to comment on it, or we all feel obliged to, if we don't comment on it, to say why we're not commenting on it. There is this grouping, this social identity that all black people face, this social consciousness that we've been all put into one, and we have to regularly remind people that we are all very different. There are many subgroups within the group of black people. However, when you look at videos like UK Badderz and you see them, we're going to be grouped together, especially as people from the UK. People view us the same as the US, and we're actually quite different. And when we mimic them, and then you have a video, and then you have clips of what is happening in the UK Badderz island, I guess, because they're in Costa Rica, right? We're gonna be grouped together, and that fictive kinship is very prevalent in our society. It's very prevalent as a black person. Things that happen in America, like George Floyd, bleed over all of Europe into the black dysphoria. Dysphoria, and we all feel a part of the communication. Just think about this. Why do you feel a need to respond when something Why do you feel the need to respond when something happens to black people? Sorry, got my words a bit tied up there. And I'll check this video out because I think it really highlights the point I'm trying to make here.
What happens to a black woman? Well, she's over-sexualized in the workplace. She's over-sexualized throughout life. But sometimes you might move into different societies. You know, I travel a lot. Sometimes I go to Asia. You know, I'm in China. They've never seen a black person before. I'm in Dubai. Damn, it's a limited, well, they've started seeing black people now. But when I first used to go to Dubai in 2007, and they hadn't seen black people, well, what's the first thing they saw? Oh, black person, Beyonce. And their eyes go all goo-goo.
I like that video because it is that over-sexualization, that hyper-sexualization, that being viewed as aggressive and being viewed as less sympathetic due to these depictions, even though those depictions are actually characters themselves that the people are playing. It's not even though those people that are playing those characters are actually like that. They're just playing into a stereotype to get on, to get a moment, to create an avenue and income for themselves. But what is hypersexualization? What does being viewed as hyper-aggressive actually lead to? Now, Lola Brooks is a writer for The Guardian. She's written many articles, and she wrote an article where she discusses the hypersexualization of black women and how it can lead to sexual assault and sexual harassment being underreported because black women are seen as less innocent than their other counterparts. Now, the reason I think it's important to bring that up is because generally speaking, there's an underreporting of rape in the black community. Just a side note, I watched The Color Purple the other day, the musical version that is. It's a great movie, go check it out. And there's, of course, the inevitable rape scene. I just went, ah. And my friend next to me, she said, well, this is something that happens in the black community a lot, but we don't speak about. And the reason it hit me and I brought this up is because it's not spoken about because of that hypersexualization. So often we are viewed as less innocent than men as well. If a crime happens to a black man, he's viewed as less innocent. Where sexual assault happens to a black woman, she's viewed as less innocent because her body might be more voluptuous at a younger age, and also due to the hyper-sexualization that happens to her and is projected throughout the community and projected throughout the airways on the mainstream media platforms. And I think that's the problem that the UK Badderz scene reality TV show can create. And it can also lead to things like this. Check this video out.
I wish that people in general, but especially black men, understood that a lot of the times our anxiety as black women shows up as irritation or aggression, but we are not necessarily angry. We never really get that pass to be like, you know, you hear about white women tears, but when a black woman cries, she's looking for sympathy. When a black woman is irritated or has an anxiety or is overwhelmed or is overstimulated, she's a bitch with an attitude. When a black woman needs help, she doesn't get help. So when we go out and get the help that we need to get, then we're too masculine and we shouldn't have done it anyway. And we need to depend on the same men that say that we're not desirable. So I wish we, as a culture, dived more into the mental health.
This one hit me the most. Throughout my research, sometimes I get a little bit, not not teary-eyed, but a little bit emotional, like, damn, never realized that. But this one hit me the most. It was probably the moment where I realized I am definitely doing something right, I guess, but I'm also quite moved by this moment because I myself have viewed black women as annoying, too aggressive, too much, and not realizing really that was, like she said, overstimulation, anxiety, maybe a fake panic attack, dormant trauma coming to the surface. And I promise you guys, so don't feel like I'm talking down to any men here. I've looked down on them. I kind of labeled them as mad and was very dismissive. And even some of my exes will be glad to tell you that is something I did. And that's the problem with stuff like UK Badderz and these kind of reality shows in general, like the US counterpart, the Bad Girls Club, and even like Blues Girls Club as well. That's the problem. This happens is when they are in pain, black women and black people in general, it's gonna be more likely annoyed and create a place and a space where they're less likely to grow. Now, I know Lani did not sit there and wake up and think to herself, oh, let me just create a reality TV show where I'm going to silence black women's pain. I'm going to hypersexualize black women. Her aim, her goal was literally just to create a show that could put herself on and put some of her people that she believes has personality on. But the problem is when you play into stereotypes and you play into trends that are going on, because it is a trend, could do more harm than good. And also one thing I'll say is, instead of playing into trends, if you want to get on in a outside the box kind of way, I would say create a trend. Take an idea and morph it into something more special. Don't necessarily just take it and kind of copy and paste that, in which is what I think is being done. And I don't think it's going to do very well. And you've got to look generally how many people that are on reality TV show, whether you look at the US counterparts, whether you want to look in the UK with things like Big Brother, X Factor, Love Island, celebs go dating, things of that nature. How many of them really cut through? How many of them have got staying power? There's a difference between having a face card and actually having a cultivated career post your reality TV show. And that brings me to my next point.
Right, but I'm gonna tell you this though, right? You gotta understand something. Don't just be one-track minded like that. Like, always still want to get your game. Because if the internet crashed tomorrow, you're gonna be shit out of luck, because that's what your ass always depended on. Get your ass out there and go get your knowledge.
If you want to go from a UK Badderz to a UK Boss B, you got to have a game plan. Sharp said it best, because why are you gonna listen to me? I've only got 53 subscribers. I'm not verified yet to give you that knowledge, but check this clip out and see if you get something from it.
Studio, like the angle, I'm gonna have my own fitness line, my own pole studio, and my own strip club after all this shit.
Why didn't you get, and I ain't even talking about the game, I'm just talking about in the professional standpoint. Then why the fuck you ain't go get you a motherfucking agent? And have him fish you around. Yeah, have him fish you around.
I don't understand all that shit. I just know what I know. I know strip club.
I'm only trying to recommend you going and finding you somebody who can push you in that light so you can really start touching the bag now. That's all I'm saying. Don't just be moving around misusing your energy. That's all I'm saying. You misusing your energy and you put it into the wrong place and saying, oh, I'm shaking ass over here. Okay, then why don't you go get your fucking agent and have him push you around the strip club? I've said this shit before to bitches. I don't understand why the fuck y'all try to move around talking about, oh, I'm stripping or I'm doing this. Okay, well, if you have a following, your ass could be around the fucking country, maybe even the world, featuring.
You can't make a mistake.
That's why I'm glad that y'all here. I'm glad you said that. Because you got to think about this. Hey, Blondie, you two on the end. Everything you do, every move you make, everything that you motherfucking say, oh, it's gonna hold the tally to you in the end. That's why I try to always tell chicks to come on here. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, everything that you do, just say, I don't give a fuck what you do behind closed doors, bitch. That's what you do. But when you come and you sit on some cameras or you do something, you need to present yourself just a little bit better than that, man. Put yourself in a higher light. That's why I say, see, for you having a motherfucking baby, you should be mashing as hard as you can, having a goal, not just having fun. See, that's what's weird about y'all.
You see, Sharp, and the reason I like Sharp as well is because he's someone that went from being a pimp to a podcaster. Now, I'm not saying I was ever a pimp. I'm not saying he's my inspiration, but I like the wisdom and the gems that he spews. And although he might have been a little aggressive towards these two women, he's telling them to think ahead. So anyone that is thinking of joining the UK Badderz, or thinks reality TV is their way, or thinks doing something for a trend or clout is the way, you got to have a game plan. You got to think a step ahead. Like that girl said, if you want to become a video vixen or someone who's in videos, have an agent. If you're one of those girls on the UK Badderz and you happen to stumble across my podcast, what do you want to do after? Do you want to go on other reality TV shows? If you do, think about it like this. You want to be insured. You want it to be on bigger and bigger platforms so you can get a bigger and bigger coin. If you're too associated with aggression and fighting, they're not going to hire you too much because you're going to be seen as a liability to those programs. If you're someone on UK Badderz and you want to do music, for example, think, how can I use this as a way to promote myself, to promote my music, to promote the image I want to display on music? And that involves, like he said, putting yourself in a higher light. Don't follow the pack animals that are trying to trend straight away, because you trend too quickly, you're done too fast. So think, put yourself in a higher light, like he said. On top of that, think of how you can use this to promote and elevate yourself to the next level. And it's whatever you want to do, just have a game plan, do some research, look into it. And research might sound overwhelming to you, but research is something as simple as a Google search. Going on YouTube, typing in the industry you want to get into, going on Instagram, going on Reddit, just going through it. If you want it, the information is out there, but go out there and try to find that information, as opposed to just hoping and thinking it will fall in your lap because after you've got a face card and you're popular and opportunities are going to fly your way. It don't work like that, because you got to also think about, if you're put yourself in a certain light and you were trending on there, why would a brand associate themselves with you? Think about it like that. Why would a brand associate with you? I can't say it right now. Why would a brand associate themselves with you? And why would any good brand that pays well associate themselves with you? And don't fall for these little scamming things that will give you a quick buck quickly, but when it gets found out that they're a scam, you're going to look bad at the end of it too. You got to put yourself in a position where you're making bread from this on and on and on. And something this lady said, who I believe she created or helped create, was an executive producer, or as Renee likes to say,
being a directive executive
of the Big Brother Australia. She said this.
Before they go on my shows, I give them the talk of doom, as I like to call it, and I know it off by heart because I've said it so often. You will leave here and you will be too famous to go back to your job, but not famous enough to be famous, so you probably won't work for 2 years. If you're a guy, people will want to fight you in the pub. If you're a girl, no one will want to date you. Everyone you have ever slept with will come forward and they will tell their stories to the press. And you think that you'll be the person on TV that everyone loves. But actually, when was the last time you were in a bar and you saw someone from TV and you went, oh my God, there's that idiot off the telly. Now you don't think the idiot will be you, but it probably will be.
This is what I meant about the face card. Having that popularity where you no longer can go back to a normal life. You no longer have the accessibility to go back to a normal life. And you can kind of lose yourself in that moment. And if you're not prepared for it, if you don't have a game plan for it, you can quickly be diminished and fall to the wayside and end up with bad mental health, difficult financial situations, end up in a situation where you're having to do OnlyFans to make money. I'm not knocking anyone that does sex work, by the way, but when you put your sex work on the internet, that's going to live with you forever. And we're trying to avoid anything that is too detrimental for you. I mean, detrimental things are going to happen in life, but we're trying to avoid that. And that's why I'm saying, get a game plan. One thing I'll say to all the girls that are going on that, or all these girls that think about reality TV, just based off all the research I've done on reality TV, get some help, get some therapy, get a manager, get a team behind you, because it's going to be challenging. Not just the girls as well, the man them too. I have not forgot about you guys. It's just because it's UK Badderz and it's mostly women. But get some therapy, get a team around you, because it's going to be challenging. People are going to assume the worst of you. As she said, people are going to think the worst. People are going to look at you and think, look at that idiot on TV. I never really liked her, da-da-da-da-da. And think about it. If you're watching this, how many times have you seen someone who's from, whether that be Love Island or whether that be whatever show, and think, what a dickhead. You know, I have a friend, well, he's not actually my friend. He went to my college, though. And he also goes to my gym. I don't want to say his name, but he was on Love Island. And trust me, I mean, for the most part, people just stop and stare at him. And some people do say some cheeky comments behind his back, never to his face. But it doesn't, that face card can be more detrimental, especially if you don't have a game plan for it, essentially is what I'm saying.
All right, we got to wrap this up though.
And guys, I just want to say this and close with this, with just my final thoughts. Generally speaking, I think these reality TV shows, and most of them in general, are bad for people. The ones centered around black people tend to do more harm than good. I think the way music presents black people, the way reality TV presents black people is an exaggeration, a wild exaggeration at that. Like she said, typically, you wouldn't see this in the clip that I put, but I'll put a little clip here.
Marion Farrelly is what you'd call a master producer. She's overseen some of Australia's biggest reality shows. Farmer Wants a Wife, Celebrity Apprentice, even X Factor.
I like that there is a social experiment angle to it. Yeah, on this particular year, we wanted them to sit around and have interesting conversations. So we built the house like this, and we put smart people in there, which was actually a dreadful mistake, because smart people edit themselves and they think about the consequences of what they say. So they're generally quite terrible on reality shows.
For those black people that are, one of those black people, she said people that are smart or thoughtful, they typically are boring TV, so they're never going to be there. So what you see on TV is an extreme exaggeration and people probably hamming it up. However, I don't think this is going to be very helpful. I don't think it's going to help anyone in general, the UK Badderz scene. I don't like the arguments between ZZ and VN Diamond, I believe her name is. I don't think it does any good. However, it does bring traction to it. And that brings me to my point. Let's make some lemons into lemonade. Yeah, I want to say, let's make these lemons into lemon cake. Where was my mind going? I have no idea. But like I was saying, capitalize for the people that are there. Find a way to capitalize. So many people don't cut through. So many people, you see their face and what are they really doing? One thing I'll say to Lani as well, ensure that this show, because you could be the next Mona Scott Young, the lady that created the Love and Hip Hop series, try to avoid the fighting per se and focus more on the drama and the arguments and the tension. Try to build it up that way so you're able to spawn off many other series, and those other series have tentacles and can have like, whether that's VN Diamond having her own series following her around, or Renee has her own series. I know Renee and Lani still have their problems, and I think it's Lani spoke to Lippy about that recently. But generally, you want them to spawn off, and if it's too focused on the fighting aspect, you're not going to get the syndication and the sponsors and the endorsements from other companies that can invest into you, where you're not putting in your own money. I'm proud of you for doing that and becoming what Renee said,
directive executive.
I'm proud of you for that. But if you want it to spawn into more, focus less on the fighting aspect and more on the drama aspect. And like people like VN Diamond, I believe is her name, sorry if I'm getting it wrong, Renee, you're people with big personalities, and people there who have big personalities. This is for anyone that goes on reality TV show, men or women. Use that platform correctly. You're going to have a face card. Present yourself in a higher light. If people want to fight like animals, don't put yourself there. Show your personality, show your charisma. VN Diamond, although I didn't agree with the argument that she had with ZZ, she came across as very funny. And I think she should focus more on that than the fighting aspect. Renee has a personality and Renee has a good soul, I believe, when I look into her eyes. But when you're focusing on the fighting aspect of it too much, you're going to lose people, and people are going to just look at you as crosses and drama. And sadly, an example of mental health and an example of black women's worst aspects. So that's why I say, put yourself in a higher light so you can veer off that. And generally, for the consumers out there, like myself, maybe we shouldn't be watching shit like that too much, because things like that get created because there seems to be an audience for it, because a large audience in the UK watches UK Bad Girls Club. I don't think Blues Girls Club that much. I think that was an OnlyFans as well. And I'm not quite sure. But things like Love and Hip Hop, when you indulge in rubbish, you'll be served rubbish. And don't be surprised when your insides feel like crap because you're served rubbish. So as black people, as much as we're trying to push away from these stereotypes, which are wrong, and like that black girl said about it creating a state where your anxiety and your pain is misunderstood for aggression and frustration and irritation. Well, irritation, aggression, and just an annoying black woman is actually what they come across as. Misunderstood as, sorry. We should pull away from some of those things. Engage in a little bit of it. A little trash TV is good, but when you overindulge in trash TV, you're gonna be treated like trash. Okay, guys, so that brings us to the end of the show. I have a bad habit of going on and on and on, don't I? But I love talking about these things. I didn't expect it to go like that, but I'm happy for it. I'm happy for the success of this. I really want it to grow, guys. So please like, share, subscribe. Spread it out with your friends if you like it. Send it to a friend if you don't like it. Leave a comment and say I suck, because that still helps. That still helps. Post it up somewhere. Enjoy it. Enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the rest of the year. Have a great year. I hope this February brings you lots and lots of love, because Valentine is coming. Oh, where is your boyfriend? Lonely.
Hey, Dottie, that's why Valentine is coming. Where is your boyfriend? You are sitting at home.